Where did
Also,
you see that I've been writing children's stories? Did I send you?
No, I saw some links on Facebook, and that what's it, Inky, Pinky, and Ponky or something.
Pinky and Ponky, yeah.
Good on you. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's yeah. I just I don't know where it started. I think one of my kids suggested that I should include that. It was James, actually. He said I should do that, and he was helping me with my website. He said he remembers with such fond memory when he was growing up. I used to sit on their bed and tell him stories, and my girls did too. You know, my second empire.
And did you like those names? Did you use those names?
Yes, I use those names, Inky, Pinky, and Ponky. Yeah, and they identified them with themselves, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in the story that I told them, they were children, okay. They weren't animals, and I don't know why I actually went this way. I suppose. You know, Sue told me that children identify characteristics with animals, and they love, you know, treating at sort of 4, 5, 6-year-olds. They like to see animals as humans, you know, to talk and do things. So yeah, so I started, and it's a big learning curve, not so much the storytelling, although it's 50 years since I've told a story.
Yeah. Be like riding a bike, though, wouldn't it?
No, not really, because, you know, the times have changed as well. And,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, when I hear how Sue's kids at Buttercup, they're 4, 5, 6-year-olds there, the way they treat the teachers and the way they treat each other.
It's quite sad, isn't it? It's really quite.
It's very sad, okay. And I know that they, you know, when they get home, I guess, and the parents get home, they watch television, and then they watch. If they're going to watch kiddie stories when they go to bed, then they watch these, you know, the animated cartoons. So I'm doing it because when James suggested it, it felt right. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, obviously not making any money from it or anything like that. That wasn't the intention. And you know, I don't know if anybody's going to watch them. But that doesn't matter. I enjoy doing them.
Okay. That's the most important thing. Yeah, that's right.
And I've learned, I'm trying to teach myself a little bit about YouTube and then how to get a proper background, and oh goodness me, it's a big learning curve. And sometimes, you know, I've got a video editor, an open source one called OpenShot, and I've been using that, and then something goes, and you know, one of my downfalls in life is that I like to just get on with it and do it, and trial and error, and learn by trial and error. Don't give me an instruction book and
yeah.
Oh my goodness! And when you come across some IT that you really just can't get to the bottom of it, you know, then I go to ChatGPT and say, you know, how do I do this? And so he tells me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you doing with ChatGPT?
I'm really enjoying it, and in fact, I'm about to upgrade like you
Oh, good.
and become a subscriber. You know, and it's sort of funny because there was a question I posed. I said, "So, why would I upgrade?" And he said, "Oh, that's a wonderful question. Let me explain all of the benefits."
Did he really? Okay, that's a great question. Okay. I've never thought of asking him that.
Mm.
uh, yeah, I see it's come onto even onto this Skype that you and I are using now. Um,
Yeah, it's everywhere now, isn't it? It's just everywhere.
a
Yeah.
message comes up to say whatever
Mm.
on my cell phone as well, and YouTube as well. With YouTube, have got their own Google one.
Yeah.
It's not Gemini, which is also Google. It's something else that they call it or use it. I don't know.
Mm. But it was interesting in the answer that he gave is it was a really, really objective answer. It was like, you know, like, well, the subscription version is designed, you know, for much deeper dives into subject matter and you know, like if you're using it for business purposes, it would definitely suit you because of, you know, A, B, C, D, E, and you know, but if your need is only, you know, not as in depth as that, you know, then there's no need to upgrade. You know, like you'll be well and truly catered for with the free version. You know, so it wasn't a hard sell or like, oh no, you definitely have to do this. It was really, really objective. You know, yeah.
That's very motivating, encouraging, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because it was really about, you know, well, you know, if you've got these sorts of needs, then yeah, this would be a better fit. But if you don't have those sorts of needs, then
Yeah.
it's fine, you know. So.
Yeah. Likewise, when I come up with a suggestion, and he says, you know, I really like that suggestion that of what you're going to do because it fits in with this and that of yours. Okay?
Yeah.
You know? And I think, oh my God, you know, it's better than talking to a human being.
That's right. Yeah. And as you say, much more polite. Yeah.
Yes, much more polite.
Yeah. It is, and that's sort of an interesting point, isn't it? It really does build a sense of trust, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. I mean, I really, in the mornings when I've done my chores and things, and I can't wait to sit down at my computer, you know. It's and now that I've got another interest of the storytelling, it's really, again, it's between ChatGPT and myself. We put together the stories, okay, and it's great. It really is, and yeah. And he came back. I did the first one and I did the first one and the second one. I've done 3 altogether. Did the first and second one, and then he came back to me and he said, "Come on, I've got some other suggestions for another 10 stories." Okay, and
really?
gives me the gives me the titles. Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. And I took one of the titles for the third one. Yeah. And so
that's incredible, isn't it, when you think about it? Yeah.
It really is, you know, and you'll probably go back to writing again, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's sort of part of my plan is, you know, going forward is to yeah, you know, I think I've got another book or 2 in me, and so there's that part of it, and also I want to spend some more time in the workshop. I've got a real hankering to do a bit of a deep dive around making wooden Japanese lamps.
Okay.
You know, so it'll stretch my skills, but it's something that I really think I'll really enjoy. And it's unique too. It's not, you know, very few people are doing it. So, and not that I'm sort of, that was the motivation to do it, but I just find the design and the creating aspect, you know, incredibly motivating. So.
Okay. And less so now, because you used to also enjoy doing renovating.
Oh yeah, no, I'll still do a bit of that. I'll be fairly choosy as to what I do, but yeah, no, I really enjoy that sort of conservation and preservation work.
Yeah. You know, I've mentioned to you before that on a regular basis, you know, at the end of my day, I often sit and watch the antique
the roadshow,
show. Yeah.
yeah.
And they often, I mean, you've got the experts, and often they're pieces of wood of some description and so on.
Yeah.
And then, but also all the other things. And often they would say things like, you know, if you had to have it renovated or not renovated, what's the word in antiques? Anyway, you know what?
Like restored or something. Yeah.
Yeah, restored. Yeah, restored. Then it would be so much, you know, so much more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I can imagine you finding, you know, some antique furniture and going to the roadshow, getting it valued, and then restoring it.
Yeah. I really think, you know, like it's a real convergence for me in one sense, in that, you know, like a lot of the spiritual study that I've been doing over the last 12 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is really about cultivation of creative spirit. And for me now, it feels like, you know, like the start of a new cycle, you know, like the start of something new, you know, so
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a new cycle, a new year coming up now. And every year in itself is a cycle, okay?
Yeah.
You know, and
well, so also, every day, I guess. But
yeah, I guess so from that aspect, but from numerology and astrology, you know, they're definite cycles, and one of the cycles is from the first day of the year to the other day, and that's and that's you know, I think I've mentioned this to you before. Right now, at this moment in the number of months gone by, and it's been a period of where the advice to me has been, let things come to you, okay?
Yeah.
It's not a time for pushing for goals or pushing to do things. They will come to you. And I've really followed that, you know, and I just feel it's right. It's like the children's stories. It just feels right, okay?
I think that's true. If you've got that really strong call to do it, then hey, listen to it.
Yeah. You know, and I still, you know, with Get Set Up, they've reduced again my number of lessons.
Oh, and I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, but even the 8 lessons a month that I've got left, today I spent the entire day on a topic that I really enjoy. Okay, and the topic is space exploration. Is Mars our next destination? Okay, and now they don't want me to do new content. Okay, and they don't pay me to do new content. Okay, I've got to repeat everything that comes up, no matter how old it is. Okay.
I don't quite understand that. I wonder why they have that view.
Well, if you didn't have the money, I suppose that's why. I don't know. To me, it really doesn't matter. Okay. I do all sorts of things with it. I mean, for example, today I really went, because it's a topic I like, and whenever I come across anything from day to day about space, and particularly about Mars, and particularly about Elon Musk, I save it. Okay, and I say, and so I'm actually, reasonably knowledgeable.
Do you look at some of those videos that NASA produces about the rover? Like what it's.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's really
absolutely. And it's I even I follow it. I know even in my class today, I was saying, well, the rover has now gone into this particular plane, and this rover is really trying to search basically only for life for all the years it's been there, and then but the others have got other other reasons, not for life, but for evidence of past life. Yeah. I found also, I don't know whether it went public, this year or even this month. I don't know, but Elon Musk has bought a large property in the peninsula in Texas. Okay, and it's an old town that became dilapidated, and he's called it Snailborough, something like that. You can Google it, and you can see it. There's quite a lot about it now. But he wants to set up, because the town is gone. It was hit by a cyclone many years ago, and had floods. And basically, it's just virtually nothing left. And so he's starting to set up, and he wants to all his staff from Tesla, SpaceX, and the Barrow tunneling company he's got, to all come there, the staff to come there. He's going to give them organize. He's already designed the houses, okay, and they started building. They all, sort of resistant to floods and cyclones and everything else, and they're made in a factory and they fold out, okay, and so I've just put all that in my class today. So I've really enjoyed doing that, okay, and I had far too much content. Okay, so the trouble was, how do I, what content do I reduce? Anyway, I was going to tell you also that what I do with the class and why I enjoy it as well is because I mean I don't get many people coming into the class, particularly when it's got to do with Mars and space and so on. There isn't that much interest amongst old people in America that are part of Get Set Up. But what I do is when I'm finished the class, I take the Zoom recording and I upload it, or I put a link to it with a bit of a write-up on my website.
Okay. Yeah.
And then with ChatGPT and myself, we sort of get an angle that's to entice people to watch the recording. And what I'm going to start doing now is start taking away the first slide, which is the only slide that has Get Set Up on it. Okay. their logo, and put my own thing there about like telling people, keeping people up to date on whatever topic it is. That's
no, I think that's entirely appropriate.
yeah. So anyway,
I think it's great.
yeah, it's super. So besides Japanese lanterns, what else do you want to make in your workshop? Or Chinese lanterns, you said?
No, Japanese.
Japanese, yeah.
I don't know. I think I just want to explore the whole creative thing more. You know, in one sense, it's sort of like, you know, the book about pursuit of mastery. It's almost like putting that into practice, I think, in a practical way. So
Yeah.
So to practice what I preach.
Well, I don't think you preach it. Okay. I mean, you've read about it and thought about it.
Yeah. No, should be good. And how's Sue going? She doing okay?
Yeah. I hesitate to answer because she just looks every day more exhausted than the day before. Okay. And she's not used to these 5-year-old Australian kids spitting in her face and kicking her and hitting her.
I mean, what on earth is all of that about? Like, what are they like?
That's not all the kids, you know. She
No. But I mean,
like 20 in the class, and probably 3 of them are, you know, will pick up chairs and just throw them and try and smash windows with them and so on. Okay.
They're like animals, but they're really, well, worse than animals, really.
Of course, they're worse than animals. Okay. Animals could teach them a thing or two. And you can't reprimand them. You can't give them time out. You can't smack them.
How do they learn? How do they learn from that? I mean, that's just outrageous. You know?
Soon I just don't know and don't understand. But you know, it's hard for somebody that been a teacher for 45 years and now lands up with this sort of tripe. And I've just been encouraging. I'm saying, you know, just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Let it happen. You know, you can't do anything about it. It's the way that Australian authorities want it done, or education. Go with it, okay? And let's see, because I think you are, you know, destined for other things. But you know, this is just a part of. Don't close the door. You know, don't get angry and don't resign because, you know, a child spat at you and so on. And just let it happen. And
because sometimes, like, you know, you hear, I don't know, it's a bit of a generalization, but you hear about, oh, it's mental health issues or it's this, that, and the other. But I mean, it just, I can't ever recall, when, like in my own childhood, like where people would behave like that. I just can't recall. I mean, there was, you know, like when you're at school, there was always, you know, like the school bully or whatever, but it wasn't like criminal type behaviour, you know, if you know what I mean. It was like, you know,
but I'm convinced that you know, something's going to come, because there's been too many, as you know, because I share them with you, hiccups in our visa thing, you know, and this last visa, absolutely, the consultant as well, and we were all convinced that we were going to get that visa, okay? because it was 50% sponsored by Buttercup. It was a company. It was employment for 4 years, and we were rejected.
Mm.
You know. Now the only reason that we're still here is because we appealed, and it takes 4 years to hear the appeal. So we stay around here now, waiting for that to happen. Okay. So I think there's something else, not so much for us in that sense, okay, although it always is, but for Sue.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, whatever happens, wherever we go, I go. You know.
Yeah.
But it's not the same for Sue. So, but we'll see. You know, if we're forced to leave the country, then we'll leave the country. You know, that's. But I don't think it's going to get to that. I personally think, if I had to speculate, okay, which is not a good thing, but I think that, well, not for myself, but for her, I think that you know, she's taught all her life, and she's always been like in a school, like in South Africa and so on. She's been like the head of department, but she was teaching or head teacher. Now at Buttercup, she's in the oldest class, and she's head of that class. She's in charge of that class. She's got to create curriculum and things like that. She works at home as well to be able to get all that done, and really, I think she's ready for the next step. I think the next step, whatever that is, which would take maybe a step out of the classroom.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe as a principal, or you know, something like that, or a vice principal, or an area manager even. I've met some area managers who have come around, and they weren't in the classroom very long. They now look after a few Buttercups around the area.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. Yeah.
I think so. I think you know, she's also going through a cycle, and that's yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
And have you heard any more from Moya at all? And after you had that message passed on to you about where you're at and all that sort of thing? Or?
No, he's gone back, you know, to his home, and yeah, whatever he shared with the South African group, they haven't shared a lot with me, but you know, he said, I might have told you this already, but the Iron Age has like come to an end. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, but in his terms, I know that could mean that, you know, maybe another 100 or 200 years. Okay. It should have been in total 134,000 years. The Iron Age, but been dramatically, and he's also said that the Third World War has started.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which will be a very different sort of war, I would have thought. But anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't. He says it will start in the East. He's always said that when it does start, and it will involve aliens as well. And then when the war does come to an end, okay, what is left? There'll be 100 years of peace, okay, and yeah. And then the what can we say, with the planet picking up again, it's going to be, for the first time ever in the history of the African continent, it's going to be Southern Africa that starts the new world.
Mm. Mm.
And
Yeah, well, they often refer to Africa as like the cradle of humanity, though, haven't they?
that's right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it did. Africa, yes, not some. I mean, Southern Africa. There's all sorts of things, very, very old things, and they call it the cradle of humanity. But in actual fact, it's more more towards Middle North Africa that the original people were there, and from there they spread out. But that's only from a Moyes perspective, or you won't find that written in any books. And yeah, it's quite interesting, what he has written. Not it hasn't been published, or none of the things that he's written has been published. Just written and printed, and so I've got some of them.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah, well, I think that sort of pursuit of the truth is such an important thing too, And really, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it or underthinking it, I don't know, but it just seems to me that my perception is that the average Jill and Joe in the street don't seem too concerned about what's true or not true. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Don. But I think it even goes further than that. Okay, I think they believe that what they believe or experience and see is the truth. Okay, so the society that we live in, that's reality, and that. You understand the term reality, I know, but it's there, and and it's really been brought to the fore in the last month or three, with this American election coming up. I mean, the absolute twaddle that those two candidates talk about and throw at each other, and the one even tries to assassinate the other one. It's really, really hectic. And yeah.
It seems to really underscore, a lot of the scriptures talk about, the powers and principalities, and it really just, it's right before our eyes, isn't it? Hidden in plain sight, and even not so hidden.
Yeah. I agree, yeah. And all the tools of these black hats, I mean, they have control of everything that's on the planet. Okay, and so they will destroy themselves in a third world war. Okay, and everything else with it. And I'm sure you remember those days that are recorded in the Bible where the people are running around lost, and They start clamming together again and so on.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Hard to fathom sometimes, but when you try and reduce it down to your own personal level, it's really quite confronting. Well, I find it quite confronting, in the sense
Quite
that
exciting.
confronting, in one sense.
Yeah.
But for me, and again, maybe I'm an overly simple person, but I mean, the solution always just comes back to faith. It just seems to,
Yeah.
And I sort of reflect sometimes, like, just simply like on the Lord's Prayer, like just those lines about, not my will but your will,
Yeah.
may it be done on earth as it is in heaven, like
Yeah.
they're incredibly powerful words.
And they are. But as you said a moment ago, people don't see there's a problem.
No. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the intriguing part. I just sort of wonder. And like, yeah, I don't know, like, even, not that I watch it hardly at all now, but when you sort of see like supporters of one or the other of those candidates, and if a reporter, was interviewing them, say, oh, what about this? Like, how does that stack up with, what you're saying? And it quite clearly doesn't, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, like, yeah. It's almost an admission, like, well, we know it's not true, but that's okay, Like, how is that a foundation for anything other than decreation? Like, it's
Chaos.
yeah, absolute chaos. Yeah. So no, it's fascinating, and in some sense, I sort of lament and I think, oh my goodness, is the human condition a lost cause? So, but we know it's not.
No, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And until you see it as an opportunity, it's a lost cause.
But it's interesting, because like I've been studying the book of Genesis around Abraham.
Yeah.
And you just sort of look at some of those passages, like before judgment is passed on, say, Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham sort of pleading because his relative Lot is down there, and he's pleading, so like bargaining with God in effect, like, so, but what if there's like 50 righteous people down there? Are you going to kill them all? He's like, no. And then it's just, so, but what if there was just like 40 righteous people? Like, would you still do it then? And he just keeps this sort of almost like a Dutch auction. But what if there was like 20? Like, would you still do it then? And God says, no, I wouldn't do that, And he sort of comes down, like, and he sort of just stops at 20, and he's sort of like, why didn't you just sort of say, well, what if there was one? But but it's sort of fascinating too, I guess, in the one sense, and I guess it's part of the human condition where, like, a human, I suppose, is so self-centered that they think they can bargain with God.
Yeah.
It's just like, have you forgotten that this is your creator? Like, that knows more about you than you know about yourself.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh goodness. My goodness. But anyway. As long as you can laugh about it, that's the main thing, I think. And laugh about it in the knowledge that the confidence that hope gives you. You know, not laugh about it in the sense of naivety, you know, but laugh about it in the sense of knowing the power of the truth. Even when you don't know. So how are you keeping? How's your health going? All right?
I appear to be having a problem with my hearing, and my hearing is deteriorating, and my smell seems to have gone totally.
Really?
Yeah.
What, just recently?
Yeah. I suppose it's been a period of time. You see, you know, Sue would bring this in from now. We've got roses that are just too magnificent. That you know about it because when I planted them, I told you. And they're all scented roses. And she would go, "Oh, whoa, that's got a strong scent," and I can't smell a thing.
Really?
Not a thing. Okay.
So not even like the food that you make, or nothing?
Nothing. Nothing. Yeah.
And do you think that's related to like the blockage of the arteries that you've had, or?
I don't think directly. In other words, you think there's something to do with my stroke? Possibly. Okay. Yeah. Possibly it's to do with my stroke. Do you want to take that?
No.
Yeah, it could be, or you know, it could just be I don't know, a deterioration. I can still, you know, read a book without glasses, and so my eyesight, you know, although my eyes, often I wake up and my eyes are sore. But yeah, otherwise, you know, I obviously I sit for too long, 24/7, and like this morning I went for a walk, and but it's a slow walk, a casual walk. It's just enjoying the environment and stuff like that. And if I do try and walk fast, then that blocked artery in my right leg then, you know, causes pain and can't carry on with the walk. But yeah, then I do kiddies exercises, the video that Sue does with her kids. It's on YouTube, and I turn it up, and I sort of, it's basically stretching all aspects of my body, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. I sleep well. Yeah. So yeah, that's how my health is. How's your health?
Yeah, not too bad. In the sense of I sleep reasonably well, and I've been concentrating on eating healthy, and I, you know, try and exercise within the context of, you know, the morning walk with the dog as often as we can, like daily usually, but except when it's raining, you know, I won't like stop walking in the rain.
Yeah.
Although I do enjoy walking in the rain, but anyway. But the dog does.
At the same time.
Yeah, the dog doesn't, so we don't. She looks at me and says, like, "Are you out of your mind?" Like, which is probably a projection from me, but that's exactly how she looks at me. But yeah. But yeah, no. But I really think that the decision to change my life and the impact of stress and stuff like that,
Yeah.
is a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you checked your blood pressure recently?
No. I probably should go and have a checkup, but I'll do that shortly, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the start of this new phase in your life now, once you've actually left work, okay,
Yeah.
In November, then yeah, I would suggest it's a good time to just go and have a general checkup,
Yeah.
And just take it as it comes, and then you can adjust your new life accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not with pharmaceutical drugs, but certainly
No, of course not. No.
something is healthy for one style is not necessarily healthy for another style.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's true. I mean, the biggest health issue I have at the moment, if it is an issue, is that I tend to, like, if I bark my knuckles or something, if I'm doing something like on a machine or whatever, it's like tissue paper on my skin sometimes, I swear. It's just like, it just doesn't take much, and then, and I've got...
You bleed.
Hmm?
You bleed.
Yeah. I mean, not profusely. I mean, if I stick a Band-Aid over it, that tends to stem it, but the hands aren't as robust as they used to be when it come to skinning my knuckles and stuff like that.
Right. But you can still hold tools well.
Oh yeah. No, there's no issues there. Yeah, I just need to be a little more careful.
And as far as muscles are concerned, arms and legs?
Yeah, no, seem to be fine. I mean, I'm not as strong in the sense of, and I'm also more cautious, I have to say, but like if at work, someone wanted a hand to lift something heavy, I'm much more inclined to say, "Oh, well, can't you use, a forklift or a trolley or something like that?" I don't, manhandle stuff around anymore. So, but that's sort of more also out of trying to protect myself. Like I don't want to sort of injure my back or a joint or anything like that. It's just sort of being a bit more mindful about it. Because manual handling can be a bit of a danger, even for young guys, and even for young people, quite frankly. You see young guys who try and lift too much or do too much or whatever, and then they've got a sore back for the rest of their life. So.
Yeah. I get a sore back even from weeding the garden. So,
is that more about your core strength, or is that a weakness in your back?
I'm not sure, because sometimes how can I describe it? Maybe pulling the weeds are not the issue. Standing up from that position is an issue.
Okay, yeah.
Not always, okay? But sometimes I can't stand up, okay? And it's painful. And I've got to look for something quickly to grab onto, okay?
I put that down to the increase in the power of gravity.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, you know, because like I'm not obviously at this age not as flexible as I used to be, but as you say, if you've got to get down on all fours or something like that, it's like, oh goodness, getting down's not the issue, but getting back up.
Yes. Absolutely. Getting back up is the issue. Yeah.
But anyway, we can lament with our old age.
But it's a good time. It's a good time.
I think so too. Okay. Well, you take care, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much. And don't indulge in my stories now.
No, I'm keeping an eye out for them now. Next installment of Inky, Pinky, and Funky. So
yeah. That will be coming. Okay. I hope the Japanese lantern will be coming as well.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Okay then. You take care, eh?
You too.
Bye now.
Cheers, man.